don't have any handouts, but if you'd like a copy of the PowerPoint, you can sign up on the sheet, and I'm happy to email it. There's nothing secretive about it or whatever. So yeah, I'm happy to share the PowerPoint. And also on there, because we do provide games for game nights and libraries, whatnot, feel free if you'd like additional information about that program. And here is actually a gift certificate to get a game night package, that'll include 2 games and some little prizes for the participants. So, should be fun to do that. Okay, thank you. It's my kid's favorite game.
I actually just gave 2 copies away. I have one for you.
Oh, so, well, you can get them at our booth, 2005. So, it's a great thing. Yeah, that's my kid's favorite game. So, why play games? Look around us. We are inundated with data everywhere you look, and it's not going to get any better. We get information from the TV, the radio as we're driving, newspapers, our cell phones, we're getting text messages, social media, Snapchat, and it's a constant flood. And it's not going to get easier for our kids and for us. But the key to survival is not to shun out this data, but to rapidly be able to organize it into patterns that are meaningful to us, and convert the patterns into data, or into basic information. So, and it becomes survival. And by doing that in a repetitive fashion, so being able to access that is one of the things that you can with the skill. So just like lifting weights, when you are using your brain muscles, lifting weights can help you build muscles for your body. The same thing is when you use thinking skills over and over, it makes those skills available for you to use them in other contexts. So, using a lifting weight, for example, if you're bench pressing, you're building your arm strength. It's not only good for bench pressing, but that's going to help you when you're lifting other things. And so it's creating a muscle memory both in your arms or in your head if you are using the games. And so using good games can help you gain 21st century skills that are really important for you as we're going forward. Things like, if we can, I'm sure why that didn't go forward. Okay, so skills like critical thinking and problem solving, collaboration across networks and leading by influence, agility, adaptability, even initiative and entrepreneurialism are things that you can bring out by playing games and getting kids comfortable doing that, or adults, isn't that matter. Go ahead, we just started, so go ahead and grab a seat. Effective oral and written communication, these are skills you're using in the game. These are things you can bring out in their life. Accessing and analyzing information, we're going to talk about that much more so, and also creativity and imagination. So all of these are skills that if you're using them in the game in a repetitive fashion, you can build those thinking skills so that they're in the muscle memory, so that those skills are more accessible to the students as they are doing things further in life. Just mentioned to them that I didn't have a handout because we lost power at the office, but if you would like a copy of the PowerPoint, just sign up and just put a copy of the PowerPoint, please. And also, if you want information on game nights, we can send that as well. So you get a gift certificate for a game night just for attending, which is really fun. Okay, so yeah, so these are different types of skills that can be in there. So, kind of as we said, being prepared for life in the 21st century involves having the knowledge at the fingertips and figuring out how to use it and when to apply it. And these thought processes can be developed by playing certain types of games, good games. So just different games are going to bring different things. We're going to actually play a couple games and we're going to use our thinking skills. You're going to feel your brain working in a fun way. Don't get me wrong, in a fun way. But then that's going to really bring it home for you and how that works. So what do we mean by a game and what do we mean by a good game? So a game is any activity that's performed under strict rules which players seek to participate because it's fun and challenging. It's not an assignment, it's not something that they have to do, it's something that they want to participate in and that they're drawn to because it's fun, right? Okay, but a good game is a little bit more. It's got to have more than one path to winning. It involves observing, in order to win you want to be able to observe and see the patterns and also use logical reasoning. If it's just random luck, that's not really developing the skills that we want. We want things that are going to be a little bit more focused than that. So, and the structure of a good game, and it's going to ask them to use those thinking skills over and over to do that. and it's going to result in repeated play so that they can, again, access those thinking skills. So, and we've observed this in sports, for example. If someone has a passion for playing, it's also observed in intellectual games too. It's the same thing. If they enjoy playing basketball and you can see them building their basketball skills, it's the same thing with the tabletop games or any other games that you can build the skills with. But the self-motivated repetitive play of these games helps them to develop the thinking skills just as repetition is required for exercise and when you're playing a sport and those sorts of practice. So, and as we just said, game playing can be a tool for exercising the mind, developing thinking skills, and we're actually going to play a couple games together so that we can exercise those, you can feel it. The first game that I want to play is set. It's a game that requires us to play a logical rule, so spatial array to find some patterns. And it's one, how many people here have played set before? No one? Oh, that's great. And I should ask, how many people here are teachers or librarians or teachers?
Professor.
Professor, okay. And so you're also?
Librarian.
Librarian, okay. So a lot of you are working with kids, you're working with teachers yourself, college age kids even. Yeah. So one of the great things about the set game.
They can actually have an IQ test.
Have you seen that?
I've seen things like that on IQ tests.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you find the pattern within the array? So, and I was going to say, some other people have come up with some similar sorts of ideas because set only has one rule, which makes it like the ultimate game of logic. You're looking for 3 cards, which each feature is either all the same or all different at the same time. Okay, where the key word is all, not same or different. So, for example, the one that we pulled over to the side here is different in every way. There are 3 different numbers, 1, 2, 3, 3 different colors, purple, red, green, 3 different shapes, diamond, squiggle, oval, and 3 different shadings where it's open, striped, and solid. So with each of them being different, it's a set. So if you see the set in the array of 12, you would call it set, pick it up, and put it over to the side. I so here, let me explain the rules of the game really quick, so I don't get too far ahead of myself. But basically, you're using the symbols to find the pattern. And the math in this is really fun, so I find that even college students really enjoy this. In fact, I think the most fun I've ever seen, you can play this game with any number of people from 1 to 20. And I once stumbled upon a group of about 20 college kids very politely playing around the round table where they'd see a set and politely reach over each other. And I was like, oh, because sometimes in order to play safely, you can only play one. So, but these college kids were very polite, and so that was really good. But in set, there's 4 attributes in the game. You've got shape, color, shading, and the number. And there's only one rule. Find 3 cards that are all alike or all different from each of the 4 attributes. And there's no turns, there's no time span, there's no reading or previous knowledge, and there's more than one answer on the board. So in a set of 12, there's a 98.6% chance that you have a set on the board, and sometimes you have more than one set. Do you need to pick up tickets?
Yeah, if anybody has tickets on play those.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so there's no turns, there's no time span, there's no reading or previous knowledge, so you can play kids very young. As a matter of fact, once I was playing with a 4-year-old, and I thought I might let the 4-year-old win because that's kind of nice. And I had to really take a step back because I wasn't sure if that 4-year-old was actually legitimately beating me at one part in the game. So age is not a factor. Little kids can beat adults, and so it's really, really very fun. And so set requires us to think both logically and holistically. So in parallel. So what you're doing is when you're looking at the spatial array, you're imagining what the possible sets are, and then you're testing your set with the left side of your brain. So you're going back to the right side and the left side, and then when you actually find a set and you call it out to pick it up, you're going to use the front and the back in order to speak and use the motion. So it's a whole brain exercise, which is really great. So we get letters quite often from people who have had brain trauma, and they say that they played set afterward, and it helped them actually build those synapses and regain that control, improve their cognitive processing speed. And in this array of 12 games, basically we have to find the information that's embedded in the noise. So let's go back and figure out what a set is really quick. We're going to start a little bit slower. So the set game uses cards, which have 4 features: color, shape, number, and shadings. These are all solid. The color can be red, green, or purple. The shapes can be squiggle, diamond, oval. You've got the numbers can be 1, 2, or 3, and the shading can be solid, striped, or out or open. Okay, so there's only one rule to making a set, as I mentioned. The 3 cards have to either be all the same or all different, where the keyword is all. Okay, it's not same or different. So if a set consists of 3 cards, and we're looking at these 3, we have to say what would be the third one. So I know that if these are both 1, the number needs to stay the same, so the third one would also be a single. And if these are both red, then I know that the third card must be the same color and be red. So that is a process of elimination. But just to check it further, my shape must be different, because those 2 have different shapes, so my shape must change again and be an oval. Okay, so when you see it, it looks like a set. They all have 1, they're all red, they're different symbols, and they're all different, and they're all solid. So it completes our set in all 4 categories. Okay, we're going to do a couple more practice ones. So for this one, a set consists of 3 cards. In this case, I've got 2 that are purple. I know my third one must also be purple. I've got 2 that are different numbers, so I know my third card must change again and be a different number, would be a 3. But they're the same shape, so my third card would have to be the same shape, it would be 3 purple squiggles. Okay, and so as we just check our numbers, each feature is either all the same or all different. Again, a set of 3 cards, tell me if I'm going too slow or too fast. So a set of 3 cards, I'm looking at my options. If these 2 are both diamonds, they're both 2, but they're different color. I need it to be 2, I need it to be diamonds with a different color, and so I would have the diamonds come up. A set consists of 3 cards. Again, I have both are the same number, but they're different shapes and different colors. So my third card would have to be the same number, a different shape, and a different color. So you can see that that would complete the set. And I think this is my last example. So both of them have the same shape, but they're different numbers, different colors. My third card would also have to have the same shape, a different number, a different color in order to complete the set. And then when you see it, does anybody have a question at this point about what a set is? Okay. Let me go ahead a little bit. The only thing we didn't really look at there was the shading. So there is shade. It might be a little bit hard to see on the projector, where one is open and the next one is shaded, has the lines in there. So if these 2 are different shadings, I know my third one would have to be different shading. It would have to be a different color, the same shape and the same number. So the middle card would complete my set. And when you look at it, I think it visually completes the set for you. So is it just as easy to see it when out of the 3 that you're selecting, you can kind of see it pretty quickly this way? Okay, the trick is when you don't have 3 to choose from, but same idea here. These 2 are different in every way, different color, different number, different shape. So I know my third card would have to be different in every way. Does anybody see which one card would complete that set?
Third one.
The third one? Okay, excellent. Okay, sure does. Okay. Now, the trick is to find the sets in a random array. So it's really easy to complete a set when it's up there, you have multiple choice. But if you were looking at these 9 cards, there's 4 different sets in here. So if you see a set in the random array, this is where you start using your left brain and your right brain. Go ahead and raise your hand and call out set.
Set.
And where's your set?
All 3 on the far left side.
So you're saying my 1, 2, and 3, all purple, all 2s, and all different shapes. Excellent. So what if I gave you 2 that were different in every way? Could anyone complete that set? Yeah, the middle one. The middle one, the 3 green ovals. Excellent. Do you see any other sets out there? Yep.
Well, maybe not.
You
Okay,
might-
yes, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Like I see a set of 3s, but I don't know if that would be consistent because one should be a different shape, correct?
One would be a different shape. That's exactly right. So if you had, these are 3 different colors, but 2 are ovals and 1 is not. So when you pick 2 that are alike in any feature, and the third one isn't, it breaks the golden rule. They have to all be the same or all be different. So if 2 are and 1 is not, it would break the rule. I'm trying to remember.
So if you're going in the number progression with the middle being that it's a 1, 2, 3, different color, different shape, is that too much difference?
Right here? That's perfect. They're different in every way. So that's exactly right. So 3 different numbers, 3 different colors, 3 different shapes. And then I don't remember what my last one was, so I'll have to look here for a second.
Bottom, middle, top, middle, right corner, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yep, okay, yep, so those, right there. So there you got it, and so, it gives us, we'll only print out, 3 at a time, but there was actually 4 there. And then it gets a little bit harder yet when you add in a 4th feature. So when you use the 3 features, there is always mathematically a set in 10 cards, so I can get away with it with just 9. But when I have the 4 features, you need to use 12 cards because there's a 98.6% chance that there's a set in there. But in this particular case, we computed it mathematically, and there's actually 6 sets. It's a target-rich environment. So if you see a set, feel free to go ahead and call out set.
So,
Where's your set?
3 solid squiggles.
All right,
But
3
it
solid
says a
squiggles, 1,
two, yeah.
2, and 3. Perfect. So you've got the same.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be touching or in order.
They don't have to be touching or in any order. They can be anywhere on the board. And there's often more than one answer on the board. The question is who sees what first. In this case, we put it into a puzzle. The puzzle is particularly good for exercising your flexible thinking. Because if you don't see a set, or maybe you see that set easily, but you have to challenge yourself to look at them a different way to find all the sets. And usually the first couple sets are a little bit easier, the last couple are a little bit harder. They're really challenging that flexible thinking, and you can feel your brain working on them. So my brain's working right now as I'm talking and doing other things too, so it's saying, okay, where are my sets? So the same idea, if I wanted to choose these 2 that are both 2s, but they're different shading and different shapes and different colors. So my 3rd card would have the same number, but a different shading, different shape, and different color. Does anyone see the card that would complete that set? There you go.
The top one.
So you would pick a purple, what color would it be? The purple diamonds?
Is
or
the bottom purple as well? It's
This
hard
is
to tell.
purple. It's a
Okay.
little bit tricky in the projector.
So let's say
So you want to say
the second
the
line,
red.
second over.
There you go.
yes.
The 2 red open diamonds would complete that set. That's perfect. Yep. So to complete the idea, how about, yeah?
With the top diamonds and then the shaded ovals on the far right, and then the bottom left corner, would those be a set?
Okay, so you said
Oh,
the
those are green.
diamonds.
I'm sorry, on the other side.
Okay, so these diamonds,
Yeah.
the squiggles you said?
hmm But
And
then
then-
those are green and so are the other ones, so that,
Yep, I would need 2 red.
You got the
shaded
2 red at the
ovals.
3rd at the top. So you could do the top left, the 3rd
This one,
top.
this
that-
one.
Yes.
And this one, I followed you. Yep, exactly. That's exactly right. So they're all the same number, but they're different colors, different shapes, and different shadings. So they have 1 feature that's alike and 3 that are different. So that follows our rule. That's perfect. That's a set. Good job. We can do similarly with different in every way. Oh, we just got that one. Another hint can be to look for things that are scarcity, where you have a rule of scarcity or surplus. So if you have a lot of open, sometimes you find a set that's within the open. Or if you have a scarce commodity, like, pretty good, but you only have 2 ovals, for example. So that's kind of scarce, you can find things that are different using the ovals. Okay, did we get this one? You got the other
So
2 and then
the
that.
3rd row, the solid squiggles, the one next to it, they're the open ovals. And then the, because those are green, well, no, sorry, they're ovals, so you'll find those remain the same. Never mind.
But that's kind of.
I was going with
great
the
idea.
greens there, but
Uh-huh. Well, yeah.
Did we do this?
And you can do that. So the people who I work with a lot, who I think are very quick at this, they can change how they look at it very quickly. I'm not that quick at it, especially on the projector. I think it's warping the color a little bit, so I apologize. But I was going to say, so they can look and they can say, red, there's no set within the reds. Purple, do I see a set within the purples? there's no set that's just purple, right? And so then they would look at the greens and they say, do I see a set within just the greens? And so there's no set within the greens. So now I know that all of my sets are all different colors. And so, but they can change their thinking so quickly, and then they'll say twos. Okay, do I see a set within the twos? There's lots of sets within the twos. I've got a lot of twos. I've got a surplus of twos. And so they would look through there, and then they would do things like that. And so they're very quick at that usually, and that's when you're playing, find one set and move on. And so scarcity and surplus really help that. But it is still the same flexible thinking. So, all right, I'm going to cheat a little bit and look ahead for a moment to help myself here. Let's see, so we got the twos that were all solid. We got the twos that were, we got both of the other twos. What we don't seem to have are the ones that are 1, 2, 3 yet. So, for example, if I wanted to get in my diamonds, I've got 1 purple diamond, 2 red diamonds, and 3 green diamonds. Isn't it funny when you point it? It's so easy, it's right there, but it was hard to find when it's in a random array. And then the other ones have to start with the diamonds again and be 1, 2, 3 diamonds. So you get kind of the same thing. So you get 1 red, 2 purple, and 3 green. Stick it there. And let me see if I can get no more in the diamonds. So when you find all 6 sets, then you can move on. But it's that challenge in your flexible thinking, how to look at it in a different way. And there's actually a free puzzle on our website where you can do this every day. It'll help you time yourself. So a lot of people like to start their classroom there or their day there where they're waking up their brain by using the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain. And so it's setgame.com, and then there's a puzzle, there's a set puzzle, a quiddler puzzle, and then an exacta puzzle. But it would look just like this, and it would ask you to find 6 sets. So it's a really fun way to go. Here's our answers over on the side, which I think we just found all of those. So, okay, here's another one. I'm going to keep moving on, though, because we shortened up the seminar a little bit, and I'd like to get some extra games, so instead of doing another puzzle. So, but basically, games can give you valuable insights. So, has anyone here heard the workings of Carol Dweck, a Stanford psychologist? So, Carol Dweck did the work on mindset. This is maybe a term that maybe you have heard. And she did a study about the growth mindset, which I think is one of the most valuable things that you can teach your students. So, and the question that she asked was, is intelligence something that's hereditary or is it something that's learned? And the people who felt that intelligence was something that was hereditary were less likely to try new things because if they're not good at it, all it can prove is that they're not smart. But people who felt that intelligence was something that was learned were more likely to try new things. And so they were going to go out and they would apply themselves until they were able to master it. And they found themselves to be more successful. And so teaching a growth mindset is something that is very valuable to our kids because we don't want them to give up. Just as something is difficult at the beginning, we want them to see the possibilities and reach for them. And so Carol Dweck, if you haven't seen any of her work, I would definitely say that that's something we want to do. Where you're looking at the difference between a fixed mindset, where intelligence is something you're born with, compared to a growth mindset, which is something that intelligence can be developed. And so, so it's creating motivation, productivity, and not only in education, but in business and sports, it's a whole mindset. And so I wanted to give a kind of an anecdote about SET as well, because what we found, SET is really great for that, because when you play it a little bit, it was hard at the beginning, but you see how it got a little bit easier. In fact, I want to get games out so that we can do that. So that was really good. And one of the, you can stay over here if you like, I'm going to make some play. So if you want to jump to a table with more people, it's more fun. So one of the things that we found, if we want to deal 9 out face up in an array, so you guys can share and designate one person as a dealer. So, but here we go. You want to come over here? I'll designate you as a dealer. Okay. So, but when you play with the physical cards, there's a couple different things happening compared to just doing a puzzle on the table. Okay. Because one thing, it's hard at the beginning to find, like you guys don't have any red, so you know that your set's either going to be green or it's going to be purple, and it's obviously not purple, so you have a little bit more challenges here. But when you're looking at the spatial array, you have lots of possibilities, and you can, it's harder to see. When someone else calls set, it really brings your focus back to the board. And so we had one psychologist who said he would start his really bumpy kids every day. The kids had problem getting started, taking off their backpacks and getting into their seats, and they were bumping into other kids. He would start all of those kids in his classroom. And because you can play any number of people, when they would see a set, the first person, or maybe he was playing solo, when someone would come in, and the next person could come in, they could just join the game because there's no turns or lucks, they can just come in and play. And so whenever the kids with ADHD heard one of their peers call set, they were drawn back to the game. And so when the second bell went off after 5 minutes and the kids were taking their seat, these kids were then released back to their rooms. He found that playing the game helped them get organized. So when they got back to the room, they didn't have the distractions of the other kids. They were able to take off their coats without their interruption. They're building that muscle memory of what they need to do and get done, and then taking their seat. And the teachers were reporting the whole classroom was getting started 5 to 10 minutes faster by making that one little change. And at the end of the semester, the psychologist wrote to us, he said, these kids who started their day with set actually increased their attention span. They improved their muscle memory, and they were able to integrate into the classrooms a lot more effectively. So if you look at your array of 9, if you can find a set in there, and go ahead, when you see a set, you would call out set and pick it up. For example, I'd call set, I would identify my set, and then I would pick it up and put it in front of me. The person with the most sets at the end of the game wins. And the dealer replaces the cards, and then the race continues. So I'll let you go ahead and be the dealer in that case.
All right.
Okay.
So then we just call out set when we see a set?
Yep, if you see a set, just go ahead and call it out. And go ahead and identify and pick it right up. Perfect.
Set.
Oh, right
I
there.
think these need shuffled.
They might need to be shuffled. Oh, yeah, here. I'll bring it in. Good call. Okay. You should check it up a little bit, but at least mix
Yes.
it up. Okay. There we go.
Set, no.
No?
I jumped to conclusion.
Set. 2, 3.
Perfect. All
Yeah.
different. Nicely done. Yep, so you're looking for cards that are all the same or all different. There's always a set in any 10 cards, so there's a possibility. There you go.
Set.
It's really my.
Are we out of cards?
You're out?
You're out of cards.
Whose cards are those?
Yep.
Oh,
Those are the ones she
You have to
picked
change
up.
the
Throw them in there.
So,
Well,
set, no.
Trying to think.
yeah.
Yeah.
You want to shuffle them and do it again?
Yeah.
Is there anyone last set on the board? Just this one right there. And then the last set.
I'm the worst at shuffling too.
like-
There's no
So-
judgment here.
So when you have 9,
The go fish
It's a lot
method.
easier, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess when I was looking up there, I got confused because you're actually.
Pretty thick,
picking
too,
multiple sets. Playing this game, you pick the set up and remove it and add 2.
Yeah.
So it's a constantly evolving board as
So,
well.
that's exactly right. So when you're playing with the physical cards, it's different than the online puzzle because you're only finding one card. So it's challenging you to think faster. And actually, at the beginning, it might even start off a little bit slow, but you probably felt yourself becoming a little bit easier.
Set.
That's how I think it teaches the growth mindset. It teaches that if you
shuffled
apply
them.
yourself, you can get faster.
Set.
And this game has actually improved people's cognitive processing speed because they form different
Ah,
strategies.
nope,
and are
that's
able
not
to
a set.
perform them faster and
Oh, it
faster.
is. I like.
So it's interesting.
I thought-
You confused me like that.
Sorry, I thought the first one was an oval.
Set.
But you can feel it with the physical cards too.
Oh, yep.
One of the other things I really like about the physical cards is that when you call out set and go to pick it up, oftentimes you have to cross the midline. And some of our young developing learners have difficulty with some
Set.
simple things like crossing the midline, which helps them in track and
This,
such.
this,
The other
and
thing
this?
this is doing is it gives them some
that right?
really interesting math concepts. some abstract thinking in terms of the pattern recognition.
Also
Nice.
set. This guy, and this guy.
Perfect.
You're gonna cheat, all right?
Set? Oh, no, oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3.
And because this game has
Yeah.
no
Yep.
turns and no luck, it doesn't require any prerequisites like reading, you can really play with any age. And so, I was playing the simple version like this without the shading with a 4-year-old, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier.
Set.
And I thought, well, I'll let her kind of win, because I want to keep her
Actually,
interested.
set.
But as she was speeding along
Oh,
and finding
yep.
sets faster and faster, there was one point in the game, I actually had
And
to
then there's
another set.
my lessons with her, she just looked at me and went winning, so, which would be okay. So, and that was the 3 feature set. Once you learn how to play it with 3 features, you add in the 4th feature, which I don't want to say makes it exponentially more difficult, but it does. You can feel
Right.
your brain, definitely working. And I was gonna say,
It's always threes, though. Even if
you're
you
always
have-
still looking for 3 cards. Whether you have 4 features, you're still looking for 3 cards in each of the sets. So I'm gonna jump through the 4th feature one and not have you do that, so we can hopefully get to another game before we have to move on. Okay. But, I did want to teach one more thing that you can do with this game, because this one, you can actually improve creativity, pattern recognition, some logical thinking, math skills, and there's a little trick that we do for abstract algebra. So at the end of the game, when you only have 1 card left and you actually start with 27 cards, and I don't short you any cards, if everyone has picked up a set correctly, you can check to make sure that all the sets are correctly by calculating the last card before it's flipped over. Okay, so it's like solving for X. You're not card counting, you're not memorizing the 20-some cards that came before it. You're actually calculating it. Because at the beginning, you have the same number of each feature. Same number of red as purple, same number as 1, as 3s, and you picked them up in patterns of 3, either all the same or all different. So in each individual feature, this last card is going to complete that same pattern, whether it makes a set with what's on the board or not. So when we get to here, and the instructions are on our website in case you want to go back and do it yourself or explain to other people, but we'll do it here really quick, and I'm going to do it out loud using my hands. But kids would be doing this in their heads silently, racing against their peers in order to find the last cards in my house. You get an extra point if you can make a set with that card before it's flipped over. So my son typically finds more sets. He's a little bit of a quicker thinker than my daughter. My daughter's a little bit, let me switch around. My daughter gets more sets. She is a little bit more of a quicker thinker. My son is a very deep thinker, a little bit more abstract. So he typically calculates that last card a little bit faster. So she gets more sets, he calculates the last card, they both think they won, they want to play again. So it's a great way to go. Okay, so if we were looking at this, I've got 4 that are purple. So these top 3 are the same color. And then you have these 3 right here that are different colors, leaving me 2 that are different colors. I know my last one has to change again and be a different color, which is purple. So did you follow that? The top 3 are the same color. The 3 in the corner here are different colors, leaving me 2 that are different. So my color, in order to complete the pattern, has to change again and be purple. I can do the same thing with the shapes. So I've got the 3 over here, which are all different shapes. And I've got the 3 in this corner, which are all the same shape, leaving me a diamond and an oval. So in order to complete my pattern, I know my shape has to change again and be a squiggle. Okay, so I've got a purple squiggle. Let me calculate my number. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3 that are all different right here. And I've got 3, 3, 3 that are all the same, leaving me a 1, 1. I know that it's 1 purple squiggle. But what's my shading? Okay, well I've got solid, open, shaded, so those 3 are different. And I've got solid, open, shaded, these 3 are different. I've got shaded, open, those 2 are different. So in order to keep my pattern, it's got to be a solid, purple, single squiggle. Let's see if I can actually get it to turn here. Okay, there we go. 1 solid purple squiggle. So you're able to calculate it. Now, this does not work if somebody picked up an incorrect set along the way. It does not work if your deck is not complete. So if your deck is not complete, please write us, let us know what cards you're missing, and we'll replace it for free. Up to 10 cards to give us a self-addressed envelope. Okay, it's no fun to play without a complete deck, so we take that to heart. So, or dog choose card, same idea. So, but the set game can build some valuable skills. So just there, when I did it out loud, that was great. Kids would do that silently, that builds their working memory. improving your working memory is one of the few things that they've actually been able to show can improve your IQ. The more information that you can take in and manipulate and turn around and convert to data, the better you're going to be able to perform, work on tests, all of those things. It's one of the few things that's actually improved your IQ tests. It can improve your concentration and focus, both in finding the sets and also in figuring out what the set is. So, and the last thing, it can improve your executive function, your organizational skills. Like, so, and remembering, what have I already done? What do I need to do? How did I already look for a set? You know, what's my flexible thinking? Did I need to look for a set in a different way if it's not just popping up to me? So set is a fantastic game for right brain, left brain connectivity, improving cognitive processing speed, improving flexible thinking, concentration, focus. It's really a great game, but best of all, it's fun and kids enjoy it. So when they have free time, they're happy to play solo, they're happy to play in groups. This is a game that you can definitely get some nice repetition and can really build a lot of valuable skills. Okay, so we're going to move on to another game. So the next game I brought is Quiddler. Quiddler is another Mensa award-winning game, so SET has an award for Mensa. Quiddler is also a Mensa select game. Basically, it requires us to form words from the letters that we have in our hand. Every round, you get a different number of cards in your hand, starting with 3 cards in the first round, and then you're going to have 8 rounds and end with 10 cards in your hand. So, but specifically, you have to form your entire hand into 1 or more words. Each word has to be at least 2 cards. The words don't have to be related, like they are here, fun word game. That's just a fun way to put it out. They don't have to be related at all, but they have to be at least 2 cards. There's a bonus for both the most words and also the longest word. Okay, so that adds a little bit of strategy because somebody might be able to form a word or words right away, but they might think, oh, do I want to go out right away because maybe so I don't have very strong letters, but you earn the points that are on the cards. So like the W would be 10 points, it's hard to see, where the A is only 2 points. So if you have a lot of 2-letter, 2-point letters, you might think, well, I don't really want to go out right away because I want to be able to draw something like a W or something that's a little bit more interesting to help me improve my score. So the players can use their dictionary, just not when it's their turn, because it would make their turn go too long, but it improves reference skills, which is a great thing. We were playing with 3 foreign exchange students. We hosted 3 exchange students for 3 weeks. I'm going to say that 1 exchange student for 3 weeks is great, and 3 exchange students for 1 week is great. 3 students for 3 weeks is a lot of foreign exchange students. That we played a lot of Quiddler. So 2 were from Poland and 1 was from Germany, and they loved playing Quiddler because it was an English game, which was our common language between us, and playing with the English family. So, but they fought over that dictionary. They loved the Quiddler dictionary and playing with it, and it was really interesting to see the reference skills, and it really enhanced the game for them. So, players can use the dictionary when it's not their turn, and the high score wins, but you earn the points that are on the cards. Okay, so this game can improve word recognition, vocabulary skills. It uses some previous knowledge because you have some there, but you're also building research and reference skills because you're able to use the dictionary, and it builds social interaction through turn taking. And the thought processes in the I can actually go back. I think I just missed something there for you. Build interaction through the turn taking. So let me get you each a game of Quiddler so we have a moment there. Just a little bit of time. Okay, so everyone's going to start with 3 cards. I'm thinking that these were shuffled. Here, I'll let you deal this time. Okay, so the person to the dealer's left goes first, and they're going to draw and discard, keeping the cards that they think will help them make the most. I don't think these were maybe shuffled. You guys end up with okay. So then maybe it was just random luck for me. Okay, so you're going to look at that A, and you're going to say, does that A help you form a word with what's in your hand? So you would draw that, and if not, you would take a mystery card, and then you're going to discard the letter because you have to use a 3-card word.
Right.
So you put your word down and discard your unused card.
Okay.
Or you could go around again if you don't think your score is the right number to win. Sometimes it's good to go out fast.
You always have to discuss.
You always have to
Okay.
discard.
Discard and then play?
So, what's that?
Discard and then play?
So I would put your, are you going to go out this time?
Yeah, just go out.
So put your 3 down to go out, and then
Face up.
discard. Yep.
Okay,
So bat. You made the word bat.
Yeah.
Scoring 13 points.
And then
he gave you
decide
8
if you're
to
gonna-
go, oh, yeah, I was gonna say
Then you have
that's
to
even
discard
more. I was
one?
gonna say
Yeah, you have to discard one, yeah.
So, let's try to think of how to, yeah, I can't do it. Okay, so how to use both the B and the H.
Right, yeah, so it's.
Yeah,
let's try
so
that.
you have a
Can I
choice
go?
between an H or a mystery card to help you make the best word that you can. Everybody gets one more chance after one person goes out to make the best word they can. They don't always go out at the first time, so sometimes you might go around a couple times. Usually you go around.
So if you don't go out this time, you set these cards down and you do 4 more.
Well, you're gonna make the best word that you can. So in this case, you might be able to only make a 2-card word.
Okay, I wanna
And
discard
I don't think
and go
forget
out.
dictionary. Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a strange amount of 2-letter words, so.
First, I
Oh.
discard one of these.
I wish.
Yeah, you write down the best word that you can make
Nice.
is, and then you would discard the one with the highest points. Because you count the cards that go toward you, so the 2 and the 3 count up to 5, and then whatever you still have in your hand counts against you.
Okay.
So,
I think you got it.
so you would score 3 points. He got joy. The A doesn't actually
Nice.
help me. Okay, maybe I'd better go with a guaranteed word. I'm gonna do a 3-toed sloth. So, and I'm gonna discard my O. So I got 4 to the positive, 2 to the negative, I only scored 2 points this round. Does that make sense? So, and then the next round, you're gonna get 4 cards in your hand, so you can make more or longer words. So you had a 3-letter word, and you had a 3-letter word. If someone did not have a 3-letter word, or only one person did, they would have actually gotten 10 extra points.
So now we get 4 cards?
Yeah.
Or cut inside, like,
Oh, you're gonna go ahead and get rid of those now. Yep, so now that you scored it, you're gonna write down your score. Just put it right there. There's plenty of cards, so younger kids don't even have to shuffle. And now it's your
And
turn.
we would
So first, you try
be
to
writing
get
down our
two
score
each.
if we were keeping score.
For the mystery card. Let's play. We're finishing up here.
May I also just not draw and play with it.
This is the
You
worst.
can, I always try to see it if it's my
Like a nasty Scrabble grab.
Yeah.
But you have to have a discount card.
You always have to have a discard.
Okay.
So you would play with 4 cards. So the goal is to form, use your words to form 1 or more words. These definitely have to be shuffled. So I can tell all of them.
And then I'll put it out.
or as we, 4 letters, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you have to use 4 cards.
4 cards. okay.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna go.
That.
I'm sorry, I'm still just on that.
So Rebecca, is there a list or like at the, did you say 205 is the boot
2005.
How long do we have to go out after you do?
of the games that this company makes?
You have to do
Yeah,
it
and actually I have
after?
it, so I will share that with you.
Okay, so we'll discard this and I'll put down.
Yeah, I actually have this game at the house, but I've.
So
played
once
it.
one person lays down, how many turns
Then
does?
everybody else gets 1 more chance to make the best word that they can.
Oh,
Draw and discard.
So-
okay, well then there's mine.
You're good.
Okay, and then you would,
Subtract what's left here?
right, so you have 14 points to the positive, and you would subtract 4 points that you weren't able to use, so you'd have 10 points to the positive.
But I could do this as, you said I could make multiple words?
You could
So,
make
like, I
multiple
could have
words.
Not sure if it's one.
A on its own?
Every
or is
word
it-
has to be at least 2 letters.
Okay.
But some people
it.
spell ox with an E, or, I'm trying to remember, you've got axe.
Oh, I do have axe. That is better,
And
yeah.
that would be better, that's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's probably
Probably the best.
the way to go, yeah.
Yeah.
So then you count the points that you have, both the longest word and the most words get a 10-point bonus. So if, for example, so if you were able to do, I'm just looking at 2 different words in there to make it 2 words instead of, and I'm trying to think that the
I have too many
the
vowels.
AE
I'm gonna say you get it just for the
is
effort.
something I remember sharing to remind myself. But if you were able to make it into 2 words, you could actually have gotten a bonus that would
Right.
accelerate it even further. So
Okay.
it's kind of a fun way to do that. There's a list of other games from the company in the catalog if you guys are
Oh,
interested.
awesome.
There's also information if you're hosting a school or library game night on how to get games for your events. So, you guys have a question about the other games that we made?
yes.
Yeah, and there's a catalog there for all.
Bad flop.
Yeah.
So is that it then? We're done?
Yep. I will wrap it up really quick by telling you a couple other, I'm going to accelerate through this really
Okay.
fast.
Yeah.
So, we got kind of
Well, I didn't know if you were here, if you were. They used to have a program, and I don't know if they still do that,
okay.
where you could have, you saw the program where you can have games sent to you to the local nursing homes?
We do. We have a community outreach program where our local stores can recommend that we give a community organization a game. So somebody in their neighborhood who has a game library, and so whether it's a nursing home who wants to play something like Quiddler or 5 Crowns, or Boys and Girls Club who really loves Set or Karma, or I even had some people request to send a Quiddler Junior to the local reading specialist at the elementary school, because that one is just fantastic for making. So in addition to Quiddler here, which we have, we call it 8 and Up, we have a junior version for those early readers where it's a target-rich environment. The letter combination is a target-rich environment for those first 300 sight words that they need to learn before they leave the 3rd grade. And so, and I played this in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade 120 times. In those games, there was only 6 times that a kid couldn't come up with any word. We simplified a little bit by saying that they can make any number of cards can go into words. So if they have an A and that's all they recognize as a word, they can play the word A. And you only get a bonus for the longest words, because I don't want them to make an A and the letter combinations are different. There might be multiple letters, so you might get like an IN combination or an AT combination, so some family groups for that. So the bonuses are only for the longest word, and you can use any number of cards to form a word. And then you go from 2 cards in the first round to 7 cards in the last round. So they're working with a slightly smaller pool of words. And but I had kids making some fantastic words. So I had one kid, we were playing in the 1st grade, and he's like, you know, he told me what to look for, and you know, all the ingredients for a word, and I think I've got it here. I've got something. I said, well, what do you got? He said, I've got Q-U-A-Y. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. How do you think that might sound? He said, I think it would sound like quay. I'm like, well, we've got quail in the area, so that makes sense to me. I said, but actually, when it's that letter combination that way, you would pronounce it key. So have you ever heard of somebody say something, you know, maybe about a key starting, does that sound familiar? And he's like, no. I said, that's hard, because you have to know what the word is in order to play it. You can't just guess about words. You have to be sure. I said, so do you know what it means? And he's like, no, but I bet that you do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a cutie. So how do we let her over, right? So I said, well, a key is a seaport or harbor. You might walk along the quay at sunset in order to enjoy the view. I said, so do you think you have a word? He said, I sure do. I've got the word key. I put it right down. There's not a 1st grader in that whole room that would ever forget that word. And we had a great discussion afterward about why would you use the word key instead of seaport or harbor? Is it a geographical thing? So are you trying to convey a certain feeling about the subject of the sentence? You know, maybe it's a sea captain who knows a lot and has a lot of special terms about water and ports and harbors, and but it was really a great discussion, and it really got their imagination going. And I'll tell you, there's some new witty word wizards in that classroom now. So but that was really good. I'm going to rush through the end. The next game we have that I was going to talk about real quick is word spiel. Like Quiddler, it's a word game. So again, we're building some linguistic skills. There was a nun study where they did a study of 700 nuns. It's hard to get some empirical data over a long term period, but they had these nuns who had very similar lifestyles, and there's a couple things. So one order of the nuns were the teaching nuns, and others were kind of service nuns. And at the end of the study, they were looking, they're saying some of these had a much higher rate of dementia compared to others. And one of the factors that they had in there was the people who were using their brains actively were able to ward off more dementia. And in addition, the other interesting thing they found in the group of nuns that warded off dementia very well is they had a very high linguistic density when they entered the sisterhood. And so they judged that by the letters that they were writing home, because again, this was over 20 years, so it was back in the letter writing age before email and texting, right? So They were judging it by the letters that they wrote home. So the better linguistic density that we can give our kids, I think this is really a step up. And playing word games is definitely a start for that. So word spiel, everyone starts with 10 cards. The goal is to use all of your cards to form one or more words. But you have to form a word each turn. The trick is that your word has to start with the last letter or letters of the previous player's word. And so basically, there's a timer to keep your word your turn just to 1 minute, but you can use a dictionary even on your turn. You just have to do it quickly. So it adds a little bit of spice and challenge to it. So this is, again, it's going to help with word recognition, spelling, vocabulary. It's going to help kids with decoding, because as they're looking at all the possibilities of the 10 cards in their hand, what are the words they can make? It's going to help them with some phonemic awareness, some creativity in terms of what are the possibilities, some flexible thinking. If this doesn't work, would that work? And let's just kind of play through it really here. So the dealer would flip over the first card. So you have 10 cards, and your challenge would be to make a word starting with the letter T. So you have a little bit of, what's the word? There's a little bit of a gap in what you're looking at, because you're looking at your letters down there, but your starting letter's up there. It's not right in your hand. So if you see a word starting with T and using the letters in the hand, go ahead and just raise your hand and let me know. We got some words right here.
Tape.
Tape?
Yeah.
And you see, you probably saw something else. Did you?
I had tape.
You had tape?
Yeah.
How about tack?
Tacky.
Tacky. So, any other words you see out there? Well, I see some, I've played this game a little bit, so I see like an ED combination.
Task.
So I see, tasked, taped. So actually when I looked, the best word I could come up with, and I don't know if it took me 60 seconds or maybe a little bit more because I dealt it out and was taking a picture. The best word I could come up with was tweaked. So I used my W, which is a little bit hard to get rid of, so sometimes I try to use that early. But TWE, using my K and ending with the ED. And so I was able to use 6 of my cards, leaving me with 4. The next player would then play. They would start with the D or the ED or KED, however they can use it. They can go back as many cards as they want. And they made the word dream, so they built off the D. So I have a challenge with an M. Now I forgot to tell you the rules. This happens to me a lot. When it's not your turn, you don't like your combinations. I don't really have any vowels. It's kind of tricky. You can substitute up to 3 times, but I forgot to. You can't substitute on your turn. I was busy talking, so I'm going to have to go ahead and use what they have up here. But luckily, they have an AM combination. So I'm just going to go back to the previous vowel and use that vowel to make my word. So I have an AM, and then I said AMPS. So I've got amps. So I can still make a word. It wasn't really long because I forgot to substitute. But I'm going to go ahead and make my word. I have amps, and then I go on. I'm left with the CY. So now I'm going to substitute. I'm going to choose the one I think is the most difficult. The Y is the closest to a vowel, and sometimes you can put it on the end of a word. So I'm going to keep my Y. I'm just going to flip over my C and draw a new one. You can do that up to 3 times out of the 10. So I got an O. And so the next person, it's their turn, and they played, what did they do? Yeah, so you can substitute up to 3 times. That's good. So I forgot what they do here. Come on.
Soy?
Please sit down. You got a question about that?
I said soy.
Soy. Yeah, so they made the word, but it was their turn.
Yeah.
So otherwise I would just go. So they made the word, what are they making the word here? They made sour. Okay, but I couldn't do anything off of the R because Roy was a proper name. It wasn't, I can't do proper names. And so if I did have anything with the R, I have to take a card. I can either put the card in my hand or I can flip it over for them to play on. So I flipped over the U, and then they had to build off of, they're going to have to play off of the U. Okay. And so they actually, instead of playing off the U, they went back to the RU, and they made rug, which works really well for me because I made the word boy, I was able to go out. So I have no cards left, my score is 0. They have 2 cards left, their score is 2. At the end of 5 rounds, low score wins. So it's very easy, and yet it's clever, and it challenges you to think in some different ways. So I really like that game for what it's doing. I'm going to go through a couple other ones really quickly. Ricochet Robots. Has anybody ever played Ricochet Robots? Do you like that? I really like that game. So this is a game where the board has several different, so you can put squares out so the board changes quite often. And you have 4 different color robots, and you have these tiles, and so the tiles have different shapes on them. You have to draw one of these tiles, and the goal is to get that color robot to that tile, but the robots can only move in straight lines. And so when they hit a wall, you can turn left or you can turn right. You know, those are your choices. And then you hit the walls and you have to count how many moves it's going to take you to get that robot to that square. Now if they hit another robot, you have the same choice. You can move left or right. So you can get there by making combinations, by moving other robots, by bumping into walls. I love this game especially because I think my son is so good at it. I think it's funny. So I'll start moving around, I'll get to 13, I'll say there's got to be an easier way. I have no attention span past 13. That's the number of moves I can count. And then my son will spit out a number like 35. And I was like, it's going to take him 35 moves to get there. And so, and now that he's spit out a number, everyone has 1 minute to come up with a lower number. And so if I can come up with a lower number than 35, then I get to move and I get to win the token. The person with the most tokens at the end wins. So, of course, and I can't even do 35 moves in 60 seconds, so 35 would be his. And it's amazing to me because he remembers the 35 moves in order, in short time, does it very specifically. This is a great game to exercise your working memory. It's doing some logic, it's doing working memory, it's competitive, it's fun, and because if 2 people, if we both called out 7, and he's got 5 chips and I've got 4 chips, I'm the tiebreaker because I'm the underdog, right? So I get a chance to catch up. So I love all those little aspects about it and that the board changes. So this is a very fun game. I like that one quite a bit. Oh yeah, this is going to tell you how to, doing working memory, logic, flexible thinking. If you can't get there one way, try to get there another, some creativity, problem solving. So, and City Squared Off, it does some great, you have to put the shapes on the board. So you're going to draw tiles in a particular order, have to get the shapes on the board so that they fill up and that you still have space. The last person who's able to keep filling them in wins. So it's a very spatial game, very good with logical thinking, working memory, flexible thinking again, creativity. This is a good one. And then Karma is a game that we have that has kind of a subtle strategy to it. This is a Mensa recommended game. And it's a game that's interesting because it's an elimination game. Everybody wins except for the last person holding cards, so it's kind of like Uno on steroids. So everybody wins, and all you have to do is you have to play a card that's equal or higher to the card that was played ahead of you, or you have to pick up the pile. But there's karma cards, you do the action that's on them, just kind of shake it up a little bit and add some spice. So, and because you're on a team with everyone trying to keep other people in the game, but they're all on a team against you trying to keep you in the game. So there's some interesting social dynamics that I think is really, really fun. And you have to think about a subtle strategy because what you play now is going to come back to you because you might have played a real zinger of a card, but you just gave that zinger of a card to somebody else. So it might have put them in control of the game. Or there's a card in there that says give a pile to a friend. And that's really not that friendly because they're trying to get rid of their cards, right? But suddenly they have all these cards. It might actually give them control about what's going to happen in the game and who gets what when. So it's a really interesting game that way. Teaches some resilience too, which I think is tricky to teach in a game. But getting the pile is not the end of the world. So it's what you do with the pile that counts. And so I really like it for that aspect. So a lot of social skills. It's a quick pace game, so there's some processing speed aspects to that. So in conclusion, I just think that everybody should be giving some high priority to finding and playing good games. So games that I like: backgammon, checkers, chess, City Squared Off, cribbage, dominoes, Quiddler, Ricochet Robots, Set, Word Spiel, our games we just talked about, all of those. It doesn't have to be any particular game, but find one where you're using problem solving, where you're using logic, where there's a joy of playing so that the challenge is renewed every time that you play. And it helps if it's easy to learn but difficult to master. So all of those aspects will help you in finding games that you can enjoy with your students again and again. So I thank you for your kind attention, and if you have any additional questions, I'm happy to take them quickly before we move to the next session. Okay.